main sort of meat of the book is dealing and sort of exposing the reader to Gnostic, Hermetic sort of beliefs, right? So you have all the sort of big hitters discussed in this book. We hear about Hermes, Hermes Trismegistus, which is like a main writer or thinker in Hermetic beliefs, which, you know, has to do with alchemy, with transformation, transmogrification, things like that, which is, you know, in a sense, a form of magic. And then we also have the sort of Gnostic beliefs that Philip brings up. So everything is coded in a sci-fi way, but essentially, again, I'm not a scholar, but my understanding of Gnosticism is that they essentially believe that the material world is inherently irrational, right? And they suppose that because the material created world is irrational, therefore the creator of the irrational world must also be irrational. And because we are trapped in irrationality, there must be an underlying, more rational world or rational dimension that exists separate to us, but we are trapped in this lower realm, right? So we're in Form 2 realm, right? We're in Form 2. We are with actual chairs. The perfect chair, the perfect goodness, the perfect justice, perfect happiness, that exists in the higher dimension, or not necessarily higher, but a parallel dimension, right? That we are not able to access because we are trapped in time and space and these constructs of irrational reality, right? And this is a thing that, I mean, this bleeds over into another idea that's discussed in the book, where tradition and myth and story is sort of the same myth or the same story repeated over and over and over, where, you know, the Gnostic belief that we're trapped, you know, just how the fake version of Richard Nixon is trapping the American public using the head-to-toe black-robed, or I think they're wearing black like bodysuits, the secret police. The black cube is something that comes up in Gnostic belief, where they believe, I think the Gnostics believe that Saturn, the planet Saturn, is somehow using energy waves or something to trap us, and Saturn is represented by a black cube in a lot of beliefs or belief systems, and that we are trapped in this sort of black cube or maze, and it's the same maze that is discussed in the myth, the Greek myth of Crete and King Minos and the Minotaur, where I believe it's Perseus, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Perseus is in the maze, and Daedalus makes a maze to trap the Minotaur. The Minotaur here is meant to represent the irrational creator, and you're sort of trapped in the maze with the irrational creator, and only through sort of the pursuing of light or knowledge or gnosis is Perseus able to escape the maze and venture back out into the real world, right? So there's sort of an allegory there. But again, that links into Philip talking about time, where maybe we're not trapped in reality, but maybe all of reality is just our perception of time. And maybe if you do away with time, you realize that everything is... there's a great quote from one of my favorite TV shows of all time. It's season 1 of True Detective, and there's a crazy sort of Gnostic cult in the show, and one of the guys, when they apprehend him, he says that time is a flat circle, which is, I believe, something taken from a Stephen King book. I'll have to get back to you on that. I think it's a Stephen King book, The King in Yellow, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe if time is done away with, you realize that everything that has happened and will happen, and will happen, they all sort of exist in the same frequency. They all sort of exist at the same instant, but we just perceive them to happen at different times because of our perception of the passing of time. But what's interesting is that, so sort of moving on, and again, I'll do another video on Gnosticism and things like that, because I personally don't, there's bits and pieces that I can sort of rationalize, and there's bits and pieces that I find useful to apply to my own faith personally. But there's also bits and pieces that I think are completely ridiculous and sort of out of bounds. And I strongly disagree with, which we'll end the video with my disagreements. But what I found interesting is that this notion that we exist in form 2, and that somewhere underpinning reality is form 1, right? Pure, rational perfection. It's something that, it's funny, VALIS in a lot of ways helped me understand Melville's Moby Dick. So I finished that about a month ago. I'll do a video on that once I'm back home, because I have the book there with all of my notes. But you always hear this sort of meme now, right? That like, oh, Moby Dick's not really about a whale. And I mean, that's true, definitely. But I think, I mean, if you think it's about the whale, you're really missing the whole point of the book. But I think Ishmael in Moby Dick, he's sort of encountering, both him and Captain Ahab are sort of encountering this back and forth and this battle with reality. And they're sort of trying to grasp the understanding that they exist in an imperfect world, and there's something that sort of exists underneath or above reality that is the true world, right? It's the world that you envision in your mind, and there's a reason why God sort of put that ability in us as humans, is that we get this inkling that we're meant for something more, or that there is a better version of things. And I mean, this idea sort of bleeds very, very heavily into, Abrahamic faiths, where, you do believe that there is an afterlife, right? There's no way that this could be it, because there must be an afterlife where things are perfect, where there's no suffering, where there's no envy, no jealousy, greed, lust, all of these sins, right? There's no vice. But it's something so intangible, and it's something so indescribable. But it's this feeling that you have just looking around, right? And just taking in the physical world. You understand that there must be something, there must be sort of this hidden layer, if that makes sense. I'll really try and think out how I want to explain that when I do the Moby Dick video. But it's such a beautiful idea, and it's something I completely agree with, and it's something that I think is so uniquely human, that every time I read a book and it sort of touches on that theme, it gives me this great feeling. And it first of all, it sort of reaffirms my faith. As someone who believes in God, it really reaffirms my faith, and it sort of it helps you frame things in a way where your day-to-day life, no matter how sort of severe or how serious things may be, you sort of always have you have this sort of armor, or this sort of reassurance that it's all trivial. This is all a test. This is all superficial, and that one day your actual soul, you actually, right? When I say think about where your soul is, you don't know where it is. It's not in your brain. It's not in your heart. It's not in your lungs. It's not in your knee. But your actual soul, will get to go to that reality, and that's true reality. And it's what Ahab and Ishmael and Horse Lover Fat and Philip, and it's what all of these characters are sort of grasping towards. But it's so inconceivable, incomprehensible, and intangible that we can only sort of skirt around the idea. We can't ever sort of delve into it. And I think that's for a purpose. I think we have bandwidth as humans, and I think our soul isn't able to sort of fully reach that level of experience because we're still alive, right? That's a personal belief of mine. I already discussed that. Let's see what's next. One quick one I thought was cool is that he has this little passage where he talks about, he says that he makes the parallel, just like how sci-fi is often used to sort of mask, like in this case, sci-fi is used to mask Gnosticism. He talks about how just our way of framing language changes the way we think about things. So for instance, technology and magic, right? He says, before, wizards were people that had this crazy ability to sort of do things, and in a sense, their ability to do things could be interpreted as a extreme form of technology, right? They had very advanced technology that allowed them to do these things, which at the time were considered magical. Where, if you think about things today, your phone, if you were to show your phone to someone 1,000 years ago, they would definitely think you were doing some sort of magic, right? If you were to talk to your phone and it gave you, locations on a map, they'd think, you'd be burned, right? But just because we framed it as technology, it sort of gives us this false sense of power over the thing, if that makes sense. We say that, it's advanced tech, it's a satellite, so we know how it works, but the average person doesn't know how a satellite works, how fiber optic internet works, how a submarine navigates. Most people don't know how like an internal combustion engine really operates, right? So in a sense, all these things are magic to you, and they could actually be magic. In a classical sense, they are magical items, but because we deem them technology, we sort of give ourselves this false sense of understanding, if that makes sense. One other connection I made in the book, which I thought was cool, was that there's a part where Horse Lover Fat, again, the alter ego of Philip, he's sort of he's contemplating whether or not all the things in history and all the things in the future are experienced by the same person. And this, I think, has a connection to, I used to be really big into Alan Watts when I was younger, and Alan Watts, if you guys don't know, Alan Watts was like this, he was a thinker, philosopher, and later a lecturer. I think he lectured at UCLA for a little bit before he passed away. But he was really big into sort of Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, all of that stuff, more Eastern tradition. And there's an amazing lecture by Alan Watts, and I think it's called the Million Masks of God lecture, where he sort of breaks down Hindu, some sort of like a Hindu belief system, and I think this is what Philip is referencing here, where Horse Lover Fat feels that he is this eternal being that is experiencing all of these different lives, but through himself. And in Alan Watts' lecture, he says that the Hindus believe that everyone walking around is a mask of God. And so all of creation is united, but there's small facets of creation that are only there to experience their other parts, right? The other parts of the greater whole. So I'm only here to experience you, and you're here to experience me, and we're here to experience the mountain and the trees and the cars and things like that. So that connection to Alan Watts I thought was very interesting. He's a great professor. He passed away quite a while ago, but all of his lectures are still available for free. Most of them, at least, are available for free on YouTube. And he has a great book that I recommend called Become What You Are, which is a great sort of philosophical read if you guys are into that. What else did I want to talk about? I think I'm going to cut this video into 2 parts. I think it'll be a 15 minute, something like that, or 20. Another cool idea that came up, again, he talks about Plato a lot in the book, and I think it was Plato. I'm sorry if I'm misattributing this, but I think the Platonic belief system has this entity that they call Deus absconditus. Again, I'm not good at Latin, sorry, but Deus absconditus is meant to essentially be like the unknowable God or the unknowable creator. And they say in a way that, if we are limited in bounds by rationality and experience and temporality and entropy and all of these effects that sort of plague our souls in the created world, then there is no rational possible way that we can know, or we have the capacity or the bandwidth to know the creator, because he exists sort of on such a higher, more powerful level than reality that we don't even have the tools to to sort of wrap our heads around what God could be, or what the essence of God is, what the Creator is. And so Plato sort of put forth that, sort of above all of the, gods of Olympus, right? You have like Zeus and Athena and Ares and all of these, Hermes and all of these gods of Olympus. Above them exists Deus absconditus, which is this unknowable energy, this unknowable entity, which in many ways is the same entity that, we worship in Abrahamic faiths, right? Where, you can't know God because you're created, and God isn't created. God is the Creator. So I found that very interesting as well. And there's a really cool thing that links back to the time dilation point that we discussed earlier, where he brings up this Greek term, I believe it's a Greek term, this Latin term called anamnesis, which is the opposite of amnesis or amnesia. So amnesia is to forget, and anamnesis is to stop forgetting, or to reclaim things that you had previously forgotten. And so many times in the novel, Horse Lover Fat and Philip, by extension, get to sort of uncover things that happened in the past. And the explanation there is that they had always known these things. These things were sort of passed down through his, I think they say through like his DNA, or through like this, through like the gnosis, or like this ultimate information, or the center of all knowledge. He always knew these things, and then by extension, we as people always know these things. But once our souls are sort of sealed into these vessels, which are our bodies, we are forced to forget them. And so the reason Horse Lover Fat is able to uncover all of these things from the past is because he already had these memories, but he is now learning how to forget that he forgot. So he's now becoming anamnetic. I think that's the term. So he's anamnetic, where he is no longer forgetting. He's reclaiming memories that he already had from the time of his birth, because they are memories of his soul that come from this higher sort of state of information, not the sort of phenomenological world. The media and the subconscious messages, I think we already talked about that. You see that everywhere. You see Netflix, you see stuff like that, and there's a lot of really funny schizo moments in the book where he's watching TV trailers or TV commercials, and he's finding all of these hidden messages which are linking him back to like the days of the early Christians, or to crazy Gnostic beliefs, or they're reinforcing the fact that we're trapped in the maze, things like that. I think if you apply that to today, you can find evidence almost everywhere. Almost everywhere you go, you are being subliminally attacked. You are being told to act a certain way, to buy certain things, to watch certain things, to believe a certain thing, to see things in a certain light. And it's because we live in such a phenomenological world where you have, this is a separate video that I'll make on, there's a French writer, Guy Debord, who has one of my favorite books of all time called The Society of the Spectacle and the Spectacular World, where, constantly we live in spectacle, and it's because of, these higher forces, whatever they may be, nudging us in certain ways. And so even the shallowest form of reality, what you see on Netflix, has its sort of tendrils rooted in far deeper messaging and far deeper agendas. I think it's about time. Yeah, because otherwise I wanted to talk to you guys about another video idea I had, but we'll do that later. I think it's about time we talk about how the book ended, Philip's discussion with the Savior, and what I believe actually happened. So, from my understanding of Gnostic beliefs and how it was framed in the book, I think that the Gnostics sort of they sort of swap roles, right? So they swap the roles between God, the Creator, and Satan or or Lucifer or Prometheus, or however he may appear in the different stories, this sort of oppositional force to God. They basically posit that because we're trapped in human bodies, and because our soul can't interact, whatever has trapped us must be irrational and evil and sort of want to oppress us. I completely disagree. I believe that our souls are trapped in these bodies because we must prove ourselves to God. We must be good men and women, and we must raise good families, and we must live holy, righteous lives, because we must prove to our Creator that we're, we want to make, me personally, I want to make the Creator proud, right? I've been given the ability to experience reality, however shrouded it may be in time and space and things like that, in these constructs. We are here on earth to prove ourselves and to prove that we are good souls, so that we can be reunited with our Creator. The Gnostics say that because we're trapped, and because God, in a sense, is the warden or the jailer, God therefore must be either irrational or angry at us, or sort of want to oppress us, which I just explained I don't believe in, and therefore the opposition. So Prometheus, the light bearer, or Lucifer, right? He fell from the heavens like lightning. I think that's in Milton, right? Milton's Paradise Lost. He must actually be good because he's trying to get men out of our sort of mortal shells, right? Men and women out of our mortal shells. They believe that, we're not trying to prove ourselves to God, but God has sort of limited us, and therefore it's our responsibility to sort of escape these husks and transcend ourselves. And it's sort of that attitude of, if you're not going to do it for me, I'll do it myself. Where me personally, I like to give all praise to the Creator of the heavens and the earth and the universe and the oceans and the animals and time and space. And I say that I'm completely fine as a human in limited capacity, and I'm going to try my best to live a righteous life, so that one day I can hopefully be reunited, right, with the Creator, or with creation. But in the Gnostic sense, they think they're trapped, right, in this black maze. The heaviest part of the book for me was in the dialogue between Philip and the Savior. The words that the Savior, this little girl, this 2-year-old girl, the way that she phrases things, like for instance, she tells Philip that, we're in this age of enlightenment now. Everything is about information and knowledge and knowing, and right, the gnosis. I'm telling you, it is now time to no longer worship a deity. So wipe your hands, be done with worshiping God, or Christ, or however you frame it. They talk about all of these different deities throughout time. There's Saint Sophia, there's what's his name? There's the guy, there's Hermes, there's oh man, I'm forgetting the name. There's the guy that they have, he's the one who invented the 2 snakes for medicine. What is his name? Let me find it for you 1 second. I had it here. Asclepios, right? Which I think at the time the Roman court thought that he was a deity, right? Just because of his ability to heal. I think he was an alchemical scientist, something like that. But essentially, be done with deities and start worshiping yourself, right? Which is totally against what I believe. I believe as a man, you cannot worship man. It's totally out of the question. You were created. How can you worship another creation when there's a creator that is worthy of worship, right? But the Savior tells Philip that. The Catholic guy is like, no, I'm not with this, dude. I don't agree with this. Philip's like, no, it sort of makes sense, Oh, how would she know these different things? She must be all powerful. She must know the past and the future, and she must have this greater understanding of humans and what we are and what our role is. And therefore, if she tells us to start worshiping ourselves and elevating ourselves, then she must be in the right. So that, in a nutshell, is sort of their discussion, right? She sort of tells them that I'm ushering in this new age of enlightenment. Enlightenment being a moving or a detachment from God, right? And towards self-worship, towards self sort of I lost the word. I don't know what I was going to say. But this sort of, self-worship, I guess. That gets the job done. I couldn't help but thinking, I couldn't help but think that the way that she talks and the promises, she says that I'll make this world yours, I'll give you all of these things, I can make you powerful, I can guide you, I can give you this knowledge and this wisdom. The way that she talks is very much how Lucifer, which I guess she's meant to represent, but in the Gnostic belief, Lucifer is good, right? But of course, in the Abrahamic faith, we believe Lucifer is the ultimate opposition, right? He's simultaneously, the greatest believer in God, of course, right? Because he made the pact with God to mislead people, but he's the greatest deceiver, right? And all of the promises that the Savior makes are the same ones that Lucifer promises or Satan promises to man, where, I can give you knowledge and power and light, and I can take you out of the darkness, like with Prometheus bringing fire to man, and enlightenment and knowledge and all of these things. So you don't need God anymore. You can be your own God on earth. So in a nutshell, that was their discourse. And that is the point where I think I got to fully understand the Gnostic belief, and my sort of qualms and my opposition towards it. There are bits and pieces which I find do apply to my personal philosophy, right? Things about how, time and space are definitely constructs, they're definitely part of creation. How we are perhaps trapped in a maze, but the maze being reality so that our souls can prove ourselves. But to go further and to sort of venture to say that because we are trapped, we must try our best to overcome the jailer, is where I sort of draw the line, and I say that I disagree with that. But I'm better now, I think, knowing how that antithetical belief system sort of operates. I think with that, that's basically it. There's a little bit of further reading I want to do after VALIS. There is an author that Philip brings up called Edward Hussey, and I think he talks about the pre-Socratics by Edward Hussey. It's a book that I'd like to take a look at. I haven't read as much Plato as I should have, but I'll definitely get on that. This video will definitely be 2 parts. It's way too long to be in 1 part. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know if any of you have seen VALIS, the film. But let me know if any of you have read VALIS. This is a great book. So many cool ideas in this book. It is a heavy read. There are some parts of the book which are pretty, they make you think, but I think it brings up a lot of cool, interesting ideas. Ideas that I finished it last night. Yeah, I finished it last night, and I'm still sort of mentally going through, all of the themes and all of the ideas that were brought up in the book. In terms of next videos, I do have a couple lined up. There's a great quote in the book. I'm paraphrasing, but he says in a way that some people love hell, some people love living in hell, and no matter how many ladders you extend to them, no matter how many hands you hold out, they will grab you and only pull you into their hell, and they don't wish to escape, even if heaven is so close. So I think that's an excellent point. I think I've definitely met people in my life that love misery and hell and suffering and sort of being down in the rough. And I think it's something that I'm not sure where it comes from. I think I'll have to think about that before I make the video, but that's something I'd like to talk about. I'd also like to do a video on outcome independence, which should be coming out soon. But VALIS was too good. VALIS was way too good. I had to talk about this first. It was burning. I had to talk about it. Another book that I just started reading, which hopefully I'll be done with probably this week, so I can make another video for you guys. John Williams' Stoner. I have zero background on what this book is on. All I know is that some people close to me really recommended it. They said it's a great read. everywhere online I've gone. I've tried no spoilers. I don't even know what the book's about. I just know it's about a guy who likes literature. Everyone has said this is a 10 out of 10 amazing book. It's a beautiful book, and it's one of those books that you don't come across very often. That piqued my interest, and I got to read it now. So yeah, I think that should be the next book video. Until then, I'll have a few filler videos where I just talk about more ideas that I've been thinking about lately. I'm in California now. I'm going to be here for a little bit. I'm in Los Angeles, but hopefully some cool stuff to come. Thank you guys so much. I'm happy I got this video done with because I had too much to say about VALIS. This was an incredible book. I will definitely be reading more Philip K. Dick. Yeah, amazing book. Please go read it, guys. Thank you so much. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.